This particular phase in my life is the most dangerous. Someone, the name blacked out, is planning an accident in my car, brake failure and serious head injuries.
This is from Diana, in her own words, 10 months before she died.
I can only tell you the truth. I'm not going to embroider, I am not going to make anything up. I will tell you the truth. Exactly what I heard and what I saw.
For years, people have been wondering about the real story behind Princess Diana's death. The strange circumstances surrounding her passing have left fans around the world asking questions that remained unanswered until now.
The princess, who spent her life in the relentless glare of the public eye, died in a speeding car in Paris, apparently trying to evade pursuing photographers.
Princess Diana's loyal butler, Paul Burrell, has finally come forward with stunning revelations about her private life. These revelations not only shed light on Diana's personal world, but also confirm some of the suspicions about the circumstances of her death. In this video, we'll be talking about these shocking revelations. What exactly did Paul reveal? Has his revelations changed the way the world views Princess Diana and her legacy? Let's get started. The fateful night of Princess Diana's death. Before we get into what Paul had to say about Princess Diana after she died, we need to first know how she died, and if the reason for her death was why Paul broke his silence in the first place. Everyone who knew Princess Diana, personally or not, loved her.
She was the most loved member of the royal family, if she still is even a member of the royal family. She's the one that I think we all connected with.
She was an incredible princess whose beauty and sweet personality made people all around the world fans of the crown. But one fateful day, everything changed. On the night of August 31st, 1997, something terrible happened that many people will never forget. Princess Diana, a woman loved by millions around the world for her kindness and work for good causes, died in a car crash in Paris. She was only 36 years old.
The crash in a Paris tunnel that killed Princess Diana, Dodi Al-Fayed, and their driver, Henri Paul, was the fault of the driver, drunk and speeding away from the chasing paparazzi.
This event happened when she was trying to escape from photographers who were following her. Princess Diana was with her boyfriend, Dodi Fayed, at the time. Dodi was the son of a very rich man named Mohammed Al-Fayed. The couple had spent the evening together and were trying to get away from all the attention that surrounded them. That night, Princess Diana and Dodi Fayed had been at the Ritz Hotel in Paris. The Ritz was a famous hotel, and it was owned by Dodi's father. Diana and Dodi had been dating for a while, and many people were very interested in their relationship. The media and photographers, known as the paparazzi, were always trying to take pictures of them. Earlier that day, they had enjoyed some time together on a boat, relaxing on the French Riviera. But when they returned to Paris, they were once again followed by the paparazzi. This constant attention from photographers made their lives difficult. In the evening of August 30th, Diana and Dodi had dinner at a fancy restaurant inside the Ritz Hotel. After their meal, they decided it was time to leave. But they knew that many photographers were waiting for them outside the front entrance of the hotel. To avoid them, they made the choice to leave through the back door instead of the front. They hoped this would help them get away without being followed. Despite their efforts, the paparazzi found out about their plan and followed them as soon as they left. Diana and Dodi got into a black Mercedes-Benz car. The driver of the car was a man named Henri Paul. Henri Paul worked at the Ritz Hotel, and he was the one driving them that night. There was also a bodyguard in the car with them named Trevor Rees-Jones. Henri Paul was driving the car because they wanted to leave quickly and escape from the photographers. The group hoped to reach Dodi's apartment, which was not far from the hotel. They thought that if they could get there fast, they could avoid the paparazzi and have some peace. But the photographers did not give up. They followed the car on motorcycles and in other cars, determined to get pictures of Princess Diana and Dodi Fayed. As the car sped through the streets of Paris, Henri Paul tried to lose the photographers by driving faster and taking different routes. The situation became dangerous as the car was moving very quickly through the city. They eventually entered a tunnel called the Pont de l'Alma Tunnel. This is where things took a turn for the worst. In the tunnel, Henri Paul lost control of the car. The car crashed into a pillar inside the tunnel at high speed. The impact of the crash was devastating. The front of the car was crushed, and the people inside were seriously hurt. When emergency services arrived, they tried to help everyone involved.
2 phone calls came early on and told me that there had been an accident, and clearly I needed to get to the hospital quickly.
Sadly, Dodi Fayed and Henry Paul were pronounced dead at the scene. Princess Diana was still alive but in critical condition. She was rushed to a nearby hospital, where doctors did everything they could to save her. Despite their efforts, Princess Diana died a few hours later from her injuries. The only person who survived the crash was the bodyguard, Trevor Rees-Jones, though he was badly hurt as well. The news of Princess Diana's death spread quickly, and people all over the world were shocked and heartbroken.
The Diana, Princess of Wales, has been killed in a car accident, and that her partner, Dodi Fayed, has also been killed. They were apparently being pursued by paparazzi on 2 motorcycles.
Many could not believe that someone as beloved as Diana could be gone so suddenly. Diana was laid to rest at her family's estate, Althorpe, in Northamptonshire, England. Her grave is located on a small island in the middle of a lake. Her family wanted this place to be a peaceful resting place, away from the public eye. Even though Diana was no longer with them, her legacy lived on. Her sons, Prince William and Prince Harry, have continued her charitable work in many ways, carrying on the causes that were important to their mother. Princess Diana's death was a tragic and sudden event that changed many lives. It showed the dangers of the intense media attention that surrounded her life, as well as the impact she had on so many people. Even today, many years later, people still remember Princess Diana with love and respect. Since her death, there have been tons of rumors of what really happened in that tunnel, but none of these rumors were confirmed. This meant that nobody knew what exactly happened that fateful night. Well, that is until recently when Diana's butler himself, Paul Burnell, came out with some truths about the princess's private life. But what exactly did Paul have to say? Let's find out. Conspiracy theories about Diana's death and Paul's shocking revelations. After Princess Diana died, at first, the crash was seen as a tragic accident caused by the driver, who had been drinking, and the paparazzi who were chasing the car. But over time, some people began to believe that there might be more to the story. They wondered if the crash had been planned on purpose, and some even thought that people in powerful positions, possibly connected to the royal family, might have been involved. One of the reasons that these conspiracy theories started was because of a letter that was written by Princess Diana herself. This letter, which became very famous later on, was written by Diana in 1995, about 2 years before her death.
The bombshell letter is said to have been written by Princess Diana herself just 2 years before her tragic death.
Diana alleged that her husband, Prince Charles, was planning to stage a car crash.
In the letter, Diana expressed her fears that something bad might happen to her. She wrote that she believed that there were people who wanted to get rid of her, and she even mentioned that she thought they might try to cause her to have a car accident. When this letter became public, many people were very shocked. They began to wonder if Diana's death had been more than just an accident. Despite these rumors, the official investigations into Diana's death concluded that the crash was just a tragic accident. The first investigation was conducted by the French authorities. They looked into what happened that night and found that the driver of the car, Henry Paul, had been drinking alcohol and was driving too fast. They also noted that the paparazzi were chasing the car, which put pressure on Henry Paul to drive even faster. The French investigation concluded that these factors led to the crash and that it was not planned. But the conspiracy theories did not go away. In fact, they seemed to grow stronger over time. Many people were not satisfied with the explanation that the crash was an accident. They continued to believe that there might have been more to the story. In response to these concerns, another investigation was launched in the United Kingdom. This investigation was called Operation Paget. It was led by the British police, and it looked into all the different conspiracy theories that had been circulating since Diana's death. Operation Paget began in 2004, about 7 years after the crash.
The probe was launched by the British Metropolitan Police in 2004 as part of the investigation into the various conspiracy theories surrounding Diana's death in 1997.
The investigation was very thorough and took several years to complete. The goal of Operation Paget was to determine whether there was any truth to the conspiracy theories, or if the crash had truly been an accident. As part of the investigation, the police looked at all the evidence, including Diana's letter, the events leading up to the crash, and the actions of everyone involved. In 2006, the findings of Operation Paget were released. The investigation concluded that there was no evidence to support the conspiracy theories. Like the French investigation, Operation Paget found that the crash was caused by the driver, Henri Paul, who had been drinking and was driving too fast. The report also mentioned the role of the paparazzi, who were chasing the car and making the situation even more dangerous. Operation Paget did not find any evidence of a plan to murder Princess Diana, and it stated that the crash was a tragic accident. Despite the conclusions of Operation Paget, some people continued to believe in the conspiracy theories. They pointed to Diana's letter as evidence that she knew something bad was going to happen to her. They also raised questions about other aspects of the crash, such as the actions of the French authorities and the response of the emergency services. For example, some people wondered why it took so long for Diana to be taken to the hospital after the crash. Others questioned the role of the British intelligence services and whether they might have been involved in some way. That's where Diana's butler, Paul Burnell, came in. Princess Diana's life was always in the spotlight, but there were many things about her that the public didn't know. After her tragic death in 1997, more details about her private life started to come out. One of the people who shared many of these details was her former butler, Paul Burrell. He worked for Diana for many years and was very close to her. His revelations about her private life surprised many people and gave a deeper understanding of who Diana was behind the scenes. These stories also showed the challenges she faced and the kind of person she was when she was not in front of the cameras. Paul Burrell began working for the royal family in the 1980s. At first, he worked for Queen Elizabeth II, but later, in 1987, he started working for Princess Diana. He became one of her closest and most trusted staff members. Diana once called him her rock, which showed how much she relied on him. Paul saw many of the private moments in Diana's life, and he was there for her during some of her most difficult times. He was by her side as she navigated her marriage, her role as a mother, and her very public life. One of the key revelations Paul made about Diana's private life was about how lonely she often felt. Even though Diana was one of the most famous women in the world, she sometimes felt isolated and alone. Paul talked about how Diana would often confide in him about her feelings of sadness and loneliness. She felt that she couldn't always trust the people around her, and this made her life very difficult. He also revealed that this loneliness somehow managed to make her develop an eating disorder called bulimia. Diana's struggles were not just about her personal relationships, but also about the pressures of living such a public life. Things don't end there. Another major aspect of Diana's private life that Paul Burrell revealed was her struggle with her marriage to Prince Charles. Diana and Charles got married in 1981, and their wedding was watched by millions of people around the world.
It's 34 years now since a young woman called Diana Spencer married her prince. It was a day of memorable images, of a young couple emerging as man and wife from St. Paul's Cathedral.
However, behind the scenes, their marriage was not as perfect as it seemed. Paul shared details about how difficult things were for Diana in her marriage. She knew that Prince Charles had a close relationship with another woman, Camilla Parker Bowles, and this caused her a lot of pain. Diana once famously said in an interview that there were 3 of us in this marriage, referring to Charles, Camilla, and herself. Paul's revelations gave even more insight into how deeply this situation affected Diana. Diana's battle with mental health issues was another part of her private life that Paul spoke about. Diana struggled with bulimia, a serious eating disorder, for many years. This was something that she had to deal with in secret, even while carrying out her royal duties and maintaining her public image. Paul shared how Diana would sometimes use food as a way to cope with the stress and pressure of her life. She also had periods of deep sadness, and at times, she felt overwhelmed by everything that was happening around her. Paul's stories highlighted the emotional difficulties Diana faced, even though she always tried to put on a brave face for the public. Despite these struggles, Paul also talked about how much Diana cared about other people. She had a deep sense of compassion and empathy, and she was always looking for ways to help those who were less fortunate. Paul shared stories about how Diana would go out of her way to visit people who were sick or in need. She often did these things without any cameras or publicity because she genuinely wanted to make a difference. One of the most famous examples of this was when Diana visited patients with HIV and AIDS during a time when there was a lot of fear and stigma surrounding the disease. Paul revealed that these visits were not just for show. Diana truly cared about the people she was helping, and she wanted to show them that they were not alone. Apart from her compassion, Paul also spoke about Diana's strength and determination. Even though she faced many challenges, she was always determined to stand up for herself and for what she believed in. Paul shared how Diana worked hard to create her own path, especially after her separation from Prince Charles. She wanted to be her own person and to have her own voice, even within the constraints of the royal family. This was not always easy, but Diana was determined to make a difference in the world. Paul admired this quality in her, and he often spoke about how strong she was, even when things were very tough.
She was so iconic and so incredible and such a beautiful spirit. I still look towards that, even today.
Diana's role as a mother was another important part of her private life that Paul shared. Diana had 2 sons, Prince William and Prince Harry, and she was very dedicated to them. Paul talked about how much Diana loved her sons and how she always tried to protect them from the pressures of royal life. She wanted them to have as normal a childhood as possible, despite the fact that they were growing up in the public eye. Diana took her role as a mother very seriously, and Paul shared many stories about the lengths she would go to in order to spend time with her boys and make sure they were happy. One of the most touching stories Paul shared was about how Diana would sneak out of the palace to spend time with her sons. Even though she had a very busy schedule and was constantly in the public eye, Diana always made time for William and Harry. Paul would help her plan secret trips so that she could take them out for a day without being followed by the press. These moments were very special to Diana, and they showed how much she valued her role as a mother above everything else. After Diana's death in 1997, Paul Burrell wrote a book called A Royal Duty, in which he shared many of these stories about her private life. The book caused a lot of controversy when it was released in 2003. Some people felt that Paul should not have shared such personal details about Diana, while others appreciated the insight it provided into who she really was. Paul defended his decision to write the book by saying that he wanted people to know the truth about Diana's life and the challenges she faced. He believed that by sharing these stories, he was honoring her memory and helping people understand the real person behind the public image. In the book, Paul also shared details about the time after Diana's death. He talked about how difficult it was for him to cope with the loss of someone he had been so close to. He also shared how he felt that he had a responsibility to protect Diana's memory and ensure that the truth about her life was not forgotten. Paul's revelations gave the world a deeper understanding of the woman who was often called the people's princess. His stories showed that even though Diana was a global icon, she was also a human being who faced many of the same struggles as everyone else. Paul's decision to speak out about Diana's private life also showed the complicated relationship between the royal family and the people who worked for them. After the book was published, there was a lot of debate about whether Paul had betrayed Diana's trust by sharing these details. Some members of the royal family were not happy with the book, and there were even legal issues surrounding some of the things Paul had revealed. However, Paul insisted that he had written the book out of love and respect for Diana, and that he wanted to make sure her true story was told. Despite his good intentions, not everyone received Paul's revelations very well. Why is this the case? And what was the exact problem the public had with Paul breaking his silence? Let's get into it. How Paul's revelations affected Diana's legacy. Paul Burrell's decision to share details about Princess Diana's life and death caused a lot of talk among the public and the media. Paul was more than just a butler. He was someone very close to Diana. He spent years with her and saw many parts of her life up close. Because of this, many people believed that what he had to say was important and truthful. Some people thought Paul was being honest, and they appreciated his stories. They saw his words as a way to honor Diana's memory by telling the truth.
I could feel the warmth which she radiated, because she was truly inspirational and unique.
However, not everyone felt this way. Others questioned why Paul chose to speak up after so many years. They wondered if he had other reasons for doing so, such as seeking attention or making money. These doubts caused many people to debate whether Paul was right to reveal these personal details about Diana. When Paul first began sharing his stories, it brought back a lot of feelings about Diana's tragic death in 1997. Diana was loved by many people around the world, and her death in a car accident was a heartbreaking event. For some, hearing Paul's revelations about her private life was like reopening a wound. He shared stories about her struggles, fears, and personal moments that the public had never heard before. These new details reminded people of how sad it was to lose Diana, and made them think again about the events that led to her death. While some people found comfort in Paul's honesty, others were unsure if it was right to talk about these very personal parts of Diana's life. The media was very interested in what Paul had to say. Paul's revelations gave the media new material to work with. TV shows, newspapers, and magazines covered his stories in detail, and people everywhere were talking about what Paul had revealed. Different media outlets had different opinions on Paul's decision to speak out. Some were supportive of him, believing he was telling the truth and honoring Diana's memory. Others were more skeptical, questioning his motives and whether he should be sharing such private information. For some people, Paul's revelations seemed to confirm their belief that there was more to Diana's death than what had been reported. Paul had shared stories about Diana expressing concerns for her safety. She had even talked about the possibility of being harmed. These details made some people wonder if there was indeed something more sinister behind her death. Because of this, there were renewed calls for further investigation. Some advocacy groups and members of the public began pushing for the evidence to be re-examined, hoping to uncover the full truth about what happened the night Diana died. But not everyone was convinced that Paul's stories proved anything. There were people who believed that the official investigation had already given the correct answers, and they questioned whether Paul's stories were adding anything new. These people felt that Paul was lying about his closeness to Diana, and that he might be creating drama where there was none. This disagreement created a lot of discussion and debate among the public and in the media. Some people wanted to see the case reopened, while others believed it was time to accept the official explanation and move on. Despite these different opinions, Paul's revelations had a big impact. Princess Diana had always fascinated people, and Paul's stories only added to that interest. People who loved Diana wanted to know more about her life, and they were eager to hear any new information that could help them understand her better. The media kept covering Paul's stories, which kept the public's attention focused on them. As long as the media continued to talk about Paul's revelations, the public remained engaged, and the debate about what really happened to Diana continued. Paul's decision to share these details also affected the people who were close to Diana, including her family. The royal family has always been very private, and they do not like it when personal details about their lives are made public. Paul's revelations likely caused some tension within the family, because it brought attention to issues that they would have preferred to keep private. Diana's sons, Prince William and Prince Harry, were especially impacted by the ongoing discussions about their mother. They were both very young when she died, and they had spent many years trying to cope with their grief. Paul's revelations brought their mother's story back into the public eye, and that might have been difficult for them to deal with. Over time, even though Paul's revelations have faded from the headlines, the public and media interest in Princess Diana has never really gone away. Diana remains a beloved figure, and new stories about her continue to capture people's attention. Paul's insights have become part of the larger story of Diana's life and death, and they continue to be discussed by people who are interested.
I don't think that we can ever have peace with my family unless the truth is out there. Prince Harry sharing painful and deeply personal details of the family rift that rocked the British royal family and the world. In his new memoir, Spare, Prince Harry chronicles the family dynamics that defined his life and led him and his wife Meghan to leave the UK and the royal family.
Prince Harry just did the unthinkable, which should not be so surprising. This prince has not been the same since his mother died. Despite this, as a royal, he's not expected to express his grief to the world or show signs of weakness. But Prince Harry, the second son of the beloved but late Princess Diana and King Charles, has managed to turn these rules upside down, to the surprise of many. From his book Spare to the Tell-It-All interview, which were only the inception of the many other controversies that have brought about mixed reactions from royal enthusiasts around the world.
What is going on in the royal family?
Before we get to any of this, it is time to talk about Harry and Meghan.
Prince Harry and Meghan Markle have changed the royal family forever.
How deep is Prince Harry's grief and resentment? Why did he decide to speak up now? Join us as we look into what Prince Harry just did that has changed the world forever. The world's reception of Prince Harry's memoir, Spare. Royalty around the world is often viewed with reverence and seen as an emblem of tradition and dignity. The expectation is that anything that happens within the royal circle remains within it, and any breach of this unwritten rule can lead to significant consequences. This was precisely the case with the release of Prince Harry's memoir, Spare. From the title alone, it was evident that Prince Harry felt like an outsider within his own family. The memoir, released on January 10, 2023, was ghostwritten by J.R. Moringer and published by Penguin Random House.
Prince Harry's highly anticipated memoir will be released in the new year. Spare hit shelves January 10th. He announced his memoir last year. Penguin Random House Publishing says that the book will take readers.
Spanning 416 pages, it is available in digital and paperback formats and has been translated into 15 languages. What is it about this book that caused so much ruckus? How was the book received by the media? You're about to witness something truly incredible. One of the most intriguing aspects was that Prince Harry narrated the audiobook version himself, which lasts 15 hours. The book was highly anticipated and accompanied by major broadcast interviews. The title Spare refers to the saying that an heir and a spare are needed to secure an inheritance within a family. In Spare, Harry discusses his childhood, the profound impact of his mother Princess Diana's death, his teenage years, and his deployment to Afghanistan with the British Army. His relationships with his older brother Prince William and his father King Charles III are explored, revealing that these connections are far from simple. The book also touches on his father's later marriage to Queen Camilla and Harry's own marriage to Meghan Markle, an American actress and non-royal, which marked the beginning of tension. The couple's decision to step back from their royal duties added further complexity to the situation.
Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, have released a statement saying, "We intend to step back as senior members of the royal family."
The memoir received mixed reviews. Some praised Harry's openness, while others felt there were too many personal details. Despite the divided opinions, Spare made history, becoming the fastest-selling non-fiction book of all time according to Guinness World Records on the day of its release. Even before the book's publication, in July 2021, it was announced that Harry would publish the memoir with Penguin Random House, with proceeds going to charity. It was reported that Harry earned an advance of at least $20 million. Later, he confirmed that $1.5 million of the proceeds would go to the charity Centabal, and £300,000 would be donated to Wellchild. In the summer of 2021, Harry explained that he wrote the memoir not as a prince, but as the man he had become. He expressed that by sharing his story, the highs, the lows, the mistakes, and the lessons learned.
The Duke of Sussex shared in a statement, "I'm writing this not as the prince I was born, but as the man I have become," adding that his story will include the highs and lows, the mistakes, the lessons learned.
He hoped to show that despite our backgrounds, we have more in common than we might think, underscoring the idea that even the wealthy face struggles. Harry described Spare as accurate and wholly truthful. The publisher highlighted that the book transports readers back to one of the most poignant images of the 20th century. Two young princes walking behind their mother's coffin as the world watched in sorrow and horror. The publisher also noted that the memoir is filled with insight, revelation, self-examination, and hard-earned wisdom. In January 2023, it was reported by The Times that Harry had second thoughts about publishing the book after visiting his grandmother, Queen Elizabeth II, during her Platinum Jubilee celebrations in the summer of 2022. However, he eventually decided to move forward with the publication. In an interview with Bryony Gordon, Harry revealed that the first draft of the memoir was 800 pages long, with enough material for 2 books. However, it was condensed to around 400 pages because there were certain things between him, his father, and his brother that he did not want the world to know, as he feared they would never forgive him. Harry emphasized that the book's purpose was not to dismantle the monarchy, but to save it. He felt a responsibility to reform the institution for the sake of future spares, specifically his brother's younger children, even though William had explicitly told him that his children were not Harry's responsibility. In Spare, Harry addresses and refutes the rumors that his biological father was not Charles, but one of his mother's lovers, James Hewitt.
Prince Harry is addressing those rumors about his real father. For decades, there has been speculation that Princess Diana's former lover, James Hewitt, is the 38-year-old's dad, not King Charles III.
He believes the rumor was partly fueled by Major Hewitt's red hair and partly by the tabloid's desire for drama. He even recounts that Charles once joked about the rumor, which Harry found to be in poor taste. Harry also draws a comparison between his relationship with William as the heir and the spare, and the dynamic between his father's aunt, Princess Margaret, and his paternal grandmother, Queen Elizabeth II. He recalls feeling little for Margaret, except some pity and nervousness, describing her as someone who could kill a houseplant with one scowl. Harry also shares a memory from his time at Ludgrove School, where he took a liking to a matron named Miss Roberts, whom he found attractive. In contrast, he recalls making fun of another matron, Pat, who had crooked knees and a stiff spine, and whom he did not find appealing. Harry recounts the moment he was informed of his mother's death early one morning by his father when he was just 12 years old. He reveals that the idea of him and his brother walking behind their mother's coffin horrified many adults, especially their maternal uncle, Charles Spencer, the 9th Earl Spencer. Harry also mentioned that there were suggestions that William should walk behind the coffin alone, but Harry insisted on joining him, believing William would have done the same if their roles were reversed. For 10 years, Harry believed that his mother was in hiding to escape press intrusion and shares that his brother William held similar thoughts. He discusses how the official investigation into their mother's death was summarized in a way he found simplistic and absurd. He questions why the paparazzi who were following her and those who sent them were not imprisoned, suggesting that corruption and cover-ups were at play. Harry also reveals that he and William had planned to issue a joint statement calling for the investigation to be reopened, but were dissuaded by others. During a trip to Paris for the 2007 Rugby World Cup semi-final, Harry had a driver take him through the same tunnel where his mother died, at the same speed of 60 miles per hour. He describes this decision as ill-conceived, as it only brought him more pain.
While attending the 2007 Rugby World Cup semi-finals in Paris, the then 23-year-old Harry drove through the Paris tunnel where his mother died 10 years prior. He recalls asking his driver if he knew where the tunnel was and telling him that he wanted to go through it at the exact speed that Diana's car.
In his quest to connect with his mother, Harry admits to seeking help from a woman who claimed to have powers. In the memoir, Harry admits to taking cocaine at the age of 17, saying it wasn't very fun but made him feel different. He also recounts an incident at a party in January 2016 at Courtney Cox's house, where he took magic mushrooms and washed them down with tequila, leading to hallucinations where he spoke to a bin and a toilet. He mentions how Rebecca Brooks, the editor of News of the World, was determined to publish a story about his drug use, describing her in harsh terms. Harry also shares a personal and inglorious episode of losing his virginity in a field behind a busy pub to an older woman who loved horses and treated him like a young stallion.
I am the lady that Prince Harry wrote about in his book, who he lost his virginity to.
With an older woman. She liked horses quite a lot and treated me not unlike a young stallion. Quick ride, after which she'd smack my rump and set me off to graze. Among the many things about it that were wrong, it happened in a grassy field behind a busy pub.
He further details an episode at a bar where, after drinking heavily, he tried to start fights, was thrown out, and later lashed out at his bodyguard, determined to hurt him, but did not receive the reaction he sought. Harry claims that his brother William, and then future sister-in-law Catherine, suggested he wear a Nazi uniform instead of a pilot uniform for a native and colonial fancy dress party in 2005. He mentions that he liked Catherine from the first time he met her, describing her as more of a sister than an in-law, and someone he enjoyed making laugh. Harry also shares details from his tours of duty in Afghanistan, stating that he flew on 6 missions where 25 Taliban members were killed. He admits that he didn't view them as people, but rather as chess pieces taken off the board. He adds that the number didn't bring him any satisfaction, but neither did it cause him any shame. Prince Harry's relationship with his father and Camilla, the Queen. Harry shared insights into the complex dynamics between him, his father, and Camilla, Charles's wife. He mentioned that both he and his brother William had agreed to welcome Camilla into their family on the condition that their father did not marry her. However, when Charles decided to go ahead with the marriage, Harry recognized that his father was finally going to be with the woman he loved. Harry alleges that Camilla sacrificed him on her personal PR altar to improve her public image, leaking details of a conversation she had with William to the press. He also claims that Charles and Camilla leaked news of his drug use in 2002 and sent him to a drug rehabilitation center to gain sympathy for Charles as a father and for their relationship. Harry further alleges that William felt tremendous guilt for not speaking up about their father's affair with Camilla, leading to feelings of confusion and torment for William. Harry also accuses Camilla of playing a role in his mother's death, believing she was pivotal in the disintegration of his parents' marriage. He likened his first meeting with Camilla to getting an injection, noting that she seemed bored because Harry, not being the heir, posed no threat to her ambitions. Despite these feelings, Harry acknowledges that his father found happiness after marrying Camilla, and he wanted both his father and Camilla to be happy, even wondering if she was less dangerous when happy. He also mentions that Camilla turned his bedroom at Clarence's house into her dressing room as soon as he left. Harry discusses his father's difficult experience at Gordonstown, where Charles was bullied and almost did not survive, and mentions his father's attachment to a teddy bear, a symbol of the loneliness of Charles's childhood. In the book, Harry reveals that his role as William's best man during the 2011 wedding was not entirely accurate, as James Mead and Thomas Van Straubenzee gave the wedding reception speech. Harry felt this was the right decision, as he feared he might say something inappropriate. He also humorously recounts that he had a frostbitten todger at the wedding, a result of his trip to the North Pole, and was advised to apply Elizabeth Arden cream, which reminded him of his mother. Harry also alleges that William was tipsy on rum just hours before his wedding. He recalls that after breaking up with Chelsea Davy, he briefly dated Caroline Flack, but press intrusion quickly tainted their relationship. Additionally, he denies rumors of a relationship with Cameron Diaz, highlighting that while Britons are among the most literate people, they are also highly credulous when it comes to believing tabloid stories. Harry shares some personal and candid moments leading up to his relationship with Meghan Markle. On the day of their first date, he recalls being out at sea for a racing competition on a boat with no toilet, which led to him wetting his pants. He also admits to regretting searching for Meghan's sex scenes on Suits.
In his new memoir, Spare, the Duke of Essex admits that he once looked up Markle's sex scenes from the USA show Suits, and that he now regrets doing it, writing that he needs, quote, electric shock therapy to get the scenes out of his head.
Harry confesses that during a confrontation with Meghan, he became disproportionately, sloppily angry, which prompted Meghan to tell him she wouldn't tolerate such behavior and suggested he needed therapy. Harry mentions that his brother William urged him to take a closer look at his relationship with Meghan, believing it was moving too fast. However, Harry felt that their mother had played a role in helping him find Meghan. He also writes about Meghan being asked by Queen Elizabeth II to select a tiara from her private collection for the wedding. However, the Queen's dresser, Angela Kelly, initially refused to lend them the tiara, citing the need for an ordnance and police escort to take it out of the palace. After several attempts to contact Kelly, she eventually handed over the tiara, but with what Harry perceived as a clear warning in her eyes. There was also a disagreement between Meghan and Catherine over flower girl dresses, with Catherine expressing concern that her daughter Charlotte's dress needed to be completely remade just 4 days before the wedding. Harry recalls that Catherine texted Meghan, saying Charlotte cried when she tried on the dress because it was too big, long, and baggy.
Meghan's sister-in-law, Kate Middleton, was upset at a pre-wedding fitting for her daughter, Princess Charlotte.
Meghan, who took a day to respond, reminded Catherine that she was dealing with her ill father, who wasn't going to attend the wedding. Although Catherine agreed to take Charlotte to Meghan's tailor, Harry says he found Meghan sobbing on the floor when he got home. However, he adds that Catherine meant no harm and visited the next day with flowers and a card to make amends. Harry also touches on a conversation about the wedding rehearsal, where Meghan allegedly told Catherine, who had recently given birth, that she might be suffering from baby brain because of her hormones, as Catherine had forgotten a detail about the rehearsal timing. Harry recounts an apology from Meghan during a reconciliatory tea at Kensington Palace in June 2018. He also blames his father and stepmother's household for leaking the story about Meghan and Catherine's argument to the press. Harry shares 2 signs he saw before learning he was going to be a father. First, Meghan sang to a group of seals, which he claimed sang back. Second, Meghan took 2 at-home pregnancy tests and placed them on his bedside table. Harry reflected, "Let's see what Mummy can do with this situation." When they confirmed the pregnancy, he thanked Selkies and Mummy. The couple announced their pregnancy to the family on the day of Princess Eugenie's wedding in October 2018. Harry describes using a canister of laughing gas to stay calm during Meghan's birth. He also recounts Meghan's miscarriage in 2020.
So, of course, we are all now talking about the fact that she has revealed that she had a miscarriage in July.
They left the hospital with their unborn child in a tiny package, and Harry buried the child in a secret place under a banyan tree. The memoir details a confrontation between Harry and William at Nottingham Cottage in 2019. William, who visited to discuss their strained relationship, reportedly criticized Meghan as difficult, rude, and abrasive. Harry dismissed these comments as repeating press narratives about Meghan. During their argument, William allegedly grabbed Harry by the collar, ripping his necklace and knocking him to the floor, landing on a dog bowl that broke and cut him. Harry chose not to retaliate, and William later looked regretful and apologized. Harry called his therapist, and Meghan was deeply saddened by the incident. In his book, Harry reveals that his father, Charles, questioned whether Meghan wanted to continue her acting career since they did not have much money. Charles supported the couple until their departure from the UK, but feared Meghan's popularity might overshadow him. Harry also claims that Charles and Camilla were uncomfortable with William and Catherine receiving too much publicity. Harry expresses surprise at losing his state-funded security after stepping back from royal duties, especially since his uncle Andrew, who faced serious allegations, retained his security. He criticizes the Sandringham Summit, calling it a fix by royal household officials he nicknames the Bee, the Wasp, and the Fly, who he says used Machiavellian tactics to consolidate power. Harry recounts a tense meeting with Charles and William after Prince Philip's funeral in April 2021. Charles pleaded, "Please, boys, don't make my final years a misery." Harry describes William as his dear brother and arch-nemesis, and notes his brother's noticeable baldness and fading resemblance to their mother. During a walk, William questioned why Harry hadn't raised his concerns within the institution sooner, and suggested he take his complaints about the Megxit agreement to the Queen.
First Brexit, now Megxit. Sources say the Queen has called on aides to urgently define the new roles of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex in the space of days, not weeks.
Although William later told Harry he loved him and wanted him to be happy, Harry admits he didn't believe his brother's words. Harry and Meghan tell-all interview. The revelations surrounding Prince Harry have continued to captivate the world, especially since his decision to step back from royal duties in 2020. The events that unfolded afterward have only added to the intrigue. Although Prince Harry and his wife, the Duchess of Sussex, have distanced themselves from their official roles, they have certainly not stepped away from the spotlight. Following the release of his book, a revealing interview provided even more insights into the royal family dynamics. What did Prince Harry reveal in the interview that he had not already said in his book? What was the royal family's reaction to this? You're at the edge of your seat, and it's about to get even better. During the interview, Prince Harry discussed a particularly contentious meeting with his brother, Prince William, in 2021. Reflecting on the encounter, Harry described his brother's familiar scowl, which he had always noticed in their interactions, and mentioned the noticeable changes in William's appearance, including his advancing baldness and the fading resemblance to their mother. Harry clarified that his observations were not meant to be hurtful, but rather to provide a fuller picture of their relationship and the circumstances they faced growing up. He emphasized that the tension between them had been building for years, long before his wife entered the picture, countering the narrative that she was responsible for their strained relationship. The world had watched Harry and William grow up, often perceiving them as inseparable. However, as Harry's book reveals, their lives diverged significantly after the death of their mother.
Quite a severe head injury, but she was very much still alive on the back seat. And those people that caused the accident.
Even when they attended the same school, the bond between them was not as close as it seemed. William had once asked Harry to pretend they didn't know each other while at school, a request that deeply hurt Harry at the time. Despite the similar traumatic experience of losing their mother, the two brothers coped with it in very different ways. Prince William had attempted to discuss their mother with Harry on several occasions, but Harry, as a child, struggled to engage in those conversations. It wasn't that Harry didn't want to talk about it, he simply didn't know how. He never considered that discussing it might have been therapeutic. Recalling the tragic night of August 31st, 1997, when their mother, Princess Diana, passed away,
the princess who spent her life in the relentless glare of the public eye died in a speeding car in Paris, apparently trying to evade pursuing photographers.
Harry was only 12 years old and was on vacation in Scotland with William and their father. That morning, Prince Charles woke Harry with the devastating news of the car crash in Paris that claimed Diana's life. Despite the gravity of the situation, Harry did not cry. He was in shock, unable to fully comprehend the reality of what had happened. Prince Harry recalled in the interview that the then Prince Charles delivered the tragic news. He didn't offer a hug, as displaying emotions wasn't his strong suit. Instead, he simply placed his hand on Harry's knee and assured him that everything would be okay, even though nothing was okay for a long time. Harry's memories of the days that followed are fragmented, but one moment stands out, greeting mourners outside Kensington Palace the day before Princess Diana's funeral. Reflecting on this, he describes the scene as bizarre. He and his brother, Prince William, were seen smiling, a reaction that filled Harry with guilt. He felt conflicted as the mourners showed more emotion than he and his brother did, possibly even more than they felt at the time. The tears of the mourners left their hands wet, a detail that puzzled Harry. He recalls the strange experience of accepting flowers from the grieving crowd and then placing them with the other tributes, feeling like a middleman for their grief. The funeral itself, held on a cool September morning, was witnessed by an estimated 2.5 billion people around the world. One of the most memorable images from that day was of Harry and William walking behind their mother's casket as it made its way to Westminster Abbey. Harry's recollection of that walk is marked by the overwhelming silence, broken only by the sound of horse hooves on the road, the creaking of bridles, the wheels of the gun carriage, and the occasional crunch of gravel underfoot. After the service, Princess Diana's body was taken to Althorpe, the Spencer family's ancestral estate, for burial. It was only when his mother's coffin was lowered into the ground that Harry cried for the first time since her death. During his teenage years, Harry did not cry, as he struggled to accept that she was truly gone. A part of him believed that Diana would never have left them like this, and another part of him wondered if it was all part of a larger plan. For years after Princess Diana's death, Prince Harry clung to the belief that his mother might have decided to disappear for a time and would eventually return. This hope persisted well into his adulthood, with Harry often waking up and wondering if that day might be the one when she would reappear. This belief was so strong that, at the age of 20, Harry requested to see the police report detailing the crash that killed Diana, her boyfriend Dodi Al-Fayed, and their driver Henry Paul, while being pursued by paparazzi in a Paris tunnel. Both Harry and his brother, Prince William, had directly asked their father not to marry Camilla, fearing that it would cause more harm than good. They saw how happy their father was with Camilla, and believed that should have been enough without the need for marriage. Despite their reservations, they wanted their father to be happy. However, Harry revealed that Camilla had launched a campaign in the British press to pave the way for her marriage to Prince Charles. He even expressed a hope that Camilla might be less dangerous if she were happy. The danger, according to Harry, stemmed from Camilla's need to rehabilitate her image.
She was the villain. She was the third person in the marriage. She needed to rehabilitate her image.
And the connections she was forging within the British press. This need to secure her position within the royal hierarchy and as queen consort led to the exploitation of others, including Harry and William, for better tabloid coverage. Harry writes that he felt sacrificed on Camilla's personal public relations altar, used by both her and, at times, his father, to gain favorable headlines. When Harry introduced Meghan Markle to his family in 2016, his father initially took a liking to her, but William was skeptical, dismissing Meghan as an American actress. Other members of the royal family were also uneasy from the beginning, even before they had a chance to know her. The British press seized upon this unease, amplifying it into a frenzy. The mistrust, as Harry revealed, was rooted in stereotypes, Meghan being American, an actress, divorced, and biracial with a black mother. These elements became a target for the British media, fueling a narrative that would profoundly affect Harry, Meghan, and their relationship with the royal family. Within the royal family, the same stereotypes that fueled mistrust in the media also affected their perceptions. Prince Harry's family regularly read the tabloids, often laid out during breakfast when everyone gathered together. Whether or not they openly acknowledged believing the stories, the constant exposure left an imprint in their minds. The idea that Harry had changed after meeting Meghan Markle led to speculation within the family and the media. Some believed that Meghan had somehow manipulated him. However, Harry embraced the change, recognizing it as a positive transformation. Rather than engaging in his past behaviors of getting drunk, frequenting clubs, and taking drugs, he had found the love of his life and was ready to start a family. When their relationship became public, Harry took a bold step by issuing a statement condemning the tabloid coverage of Meghan, particularly calling out the racial undertones in the commentary. This action angered his father and brother William, who felt that Harry's statement made them look bad. They believed that they were not given the same opportunity or ability to defend their own partners in a similar manner. However, at the end of the interview, Prince Harry ended by saying that their family would be fairly functional without a third party, which is the British press. He said he's looking forward to having that file element back, having a relationship with his brother and father and other members of the family, as that's all he's ever asked for. What do you think about Prince Harry's revelations of the royal family's secrets? Do you think Prince Harry is right in all of these? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to check out the next video on your screen. You will enjoy it.